City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero! Special beyond special.
Best player in the Premier League.
Captain Marvel. Drogba! Rooney! Oh, wonderful! That is one Derby diamond.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's match day.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of Clash of Clubs. My name's Dylan. I'm alongside Grant and Mila. And after an exciting match week 1 in the Premier League, we are going to share our thoughts on the games, talk about the transfer of João Felix and how that affects Chelsea and what their best 11 is moving forward, and then finish off the episode with a ranking of our top 10 center backs. With all that being said, Grant, do you want to start us off with Liverpool Ipswich from this weekend?
Yeah, good to be back, waking up bright and early over here on the West Coast. Not too much to say really on that game. I feel like we all expect Liverpool to beat a team that just got promoted. But, going away, tough place to play. We saw Luton became a pretty tough place to play last season. Ipswich had some moments, but again, you saw players like Mo Salah, like this is what they do. They've been doing this for a while, so they took care of business. But I liked what I saw from Ipswich. Pretty exciting. I know I put them last, but I think they might have some juice. I was excited with that. I know they just got Broya on loan, so now I'm really rooting for them to stay up. But yeah, liked what I watched. It was a fun first game.
Yeah, I mean, the only kind of main thing that I took from the game is that Slot took off Kwanzaa at half. I think that's obviously an important note that he's clearly given him that chance to take over that spot, and he didn't take it. So it's probably Kanate and Van Dijk for. Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I didn't watch the game. I'm not gonna act like I did, but that's what I heard is that it looked like he was getting beat physically.
Yeah, interesting too. I mean, obviously they got a lot of guys on expiring contracts, new manager, so interesting year for them. Good point.
Yeah, I guess we'll just go into the next game. Obviously, United fans going to talk about the United win 1-0 at home, obviously against Fulham. I thought it was important for United to get off the mark early. We've seen it in the past where they've gotten off to slow starts and the media just kind of crumbles them. And some of those players aren't built for that type of hit early on in the season. So I thought it was important to get minutes in for guys like C.O.C and De Ligt in a positive atmosphere. Obviously, Fulham's not the best team, so I'm not going to act like it was a game where they shouldn't have won. But they could have won the game 3 or 4-0. Unfortunately, they didn't convert their chances. Bruno missed 2 big ones. Garnacho missed a sitter. But overall, good game. Good start to the season. 3 points is what you ultimately need to take, and hopefully they continue the result over into Brighton.
Yeah, I love that Xerxes goal. He's on my fantasy team. That was pretty sweet. I like that. I mean, there are a lot of questions that need to be answered, but like you said, at this point of the year, we're in August. The transfer window's not even over yet. The season ends in May. So we're going to see these teams change a lot over the course of this year. So at this point in the season, you're just looking for 3 points. So, you can't ask for much more. And then you just got to carry momentum.
Yeah. Mila, going into like the next game of like the big 6, Arsenal and Wolves, personally for me, I thought that it kind of felt like Arsenal never got out of second gear and they kind of took control of the game early with that Havertz goal. And from there on out, they just controlled the game throughout. And Wolves had their chances here or there, but ultimately the better team won. And again, another team that just needed to get off to a good start because ultimately in this Premier League race, you lose one game and that can make or break being a championship side. So thought they looked good. I thought Havertz and Saka both looked really well throughout the entirety. Did you see anything different?
Basically said exactly what I was going to say. Never got going. They were way too comfortable that game. That's not really on them, though. They did what they needed to do. Like you said, Saka had a good performance and a good goal. And I think they strolled through that game, but I don't have much to say until we see them next week against Villa and see how they perform in that one. I think they have a little bit of a harder matchup. Just a little bit.
Speaking of
So
Villa,
yeah, what did you think of Villa versus West Ham?
Um, I thought it was interesting. I think both teams showed a bit of something. I thought Villa looked a lot better. I do think that the way both teams played probably changed because of that early Onana header. So from what we did see though, it looked like Villa were more dominant and they were patient but dangerous at the same time. Whereas West Ham could find the sparks with Kudus and just couldn't really put it together at the end. And then I thought the second half was a bit more back and forth, but Villa's still on top for most of it. What about you
Yeah, I
guys?
mean,
Did you get to
what
see anything?
it's interesting. I think the one blurb that we talked about last week for me with Villa was like, where's the depth going to play in? You know, my biggest concern with the team is like if Watkins is to go down, where do they go from there? And I thought it was a big important piece for them to get a goal from purely substitutions and guys that are going to be
MLS,
getting these
baby.
Premier League minutes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
MLS.
John Duran.
It came from Ramsey and
John
Duran
with an
and
age.
an
uh,
H. So it's
uh,
important. And West Ham away to start the season. That's a difficult place to start a season, especially after the momentum they had in the transfer window.
Right.
yeah, uh, I missed those Duran links. That was a good time. But yeah, next game, I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit. Leicester Spurs. Um, I was watching that one, and honestly, like 35, 40 minutes in, like a little bit after the goal, I was like, oh, this one's over. Like, I don't really want to watch the rest of this, whatever. But uh, missed the last 5 minutes, and then I checked in second half, and we saw the same problems we saw last year. The first 10 games last year, they looked unbeatable. It was great. And then that night against Chelsea happened. That was a hilarious game. But essentially, they just cannot stop getting exposed defensively. Like, you look at them on paper, like just the center back pairing, right? Van de Ven Romero, like very good center backs. Udogi and Poro, we could talk about their defensive capabilities, but they're good quality fullbacks. Why is this defense so awful? You know what I mean? It's obviously deeper stemming things, but I'm interested to see how it ends up playing out because I mean Solanke's a huge pickup. They spent a bunch of money on depth. I've heard other teams in that city get criticized for things like that, but I digress. Um, yeah, I think it's going to end up being a very similar season for Tottenham, where you see these games where they just look unbeatable. They look great. They're going to have tons of possession, but against teams, again, Leicester's not even that great of a team, but against better teams, they're going to struggle. So I'm excited, interested, but that was a great watch. Anyone else catch that one? What do you guys think?
Let's see a bit of it. I think Leicester looked okay to me, but not okay in like they're going to be okay during the season type of way. Okay, because I don't think Tottenham played that well. I think Leicester's still going to struggle this year based off of what I saw. But if Vardy can bag, and he should have had another, so if he can start converting those, then maybe I take him out of my relegation battle. As of right now, still nothing.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing that was the most disappointing about Spurs to me was that for the majority of the game, Leicester looked awful. Couldn't string together passes. It looked like it was a game that should have been an easy 3-0 for Spurs, and they didn't really put together any valuable offensive threats. They had like 10 corners in the game, and I don't think a single one went anywhere near frame. Um, they didn't
They
test the
had
keeper.
one. They had one go back to the keeper. They had a corner go back to the keeper. Same
Exactly,
time.
and that's how does that happen? How do you have a guy like Van der Ven and Romero who are both good in the air, not get on the end of set pieces? Obviously, I thought James Madison looked good in the minutes he played, but he wasn't really much of an impact after the assist. Um, really disappointing from Spurs. Obviously, they have high hopes, and I thought that the additions they made obviously were going to make them better. And it's obviously just typical Spurs to fall back into the same routine of high hopes, low expectations, and then deliver on those low expectations.
Yeah, and I forgot to
What
add
a
too.
win!
A big problem. A big problem with that is I'm looking at their winger options, right? Brendan Johnson, like, okay, he's all right, like 45 million. He's been okay. I would see him as more of a squad guy. if you're looking to compete for titles. And then you sub on Timo Werner on the right wing to whip in. That's insane to me. Like, I think we've all seen enough of Timo, and I like Timo a lot, but that's not really much of a, oh, yeah, that's going to change the game. Son is a touchline winger. That is just, it's not very ideal for him either. I don't think he had much of an impact. And again, Richarlison came on right at the end. Header, he could have won the game. Nowhere close. Like, it just summed up the game. Like you guys said, they should just be putting chances away. Leicester did not look great. They had like a 15-minute stretch in the second half where they were going. I think Fatawu looked really exciting on the right. Mavdidi should have started because he's on my fantasy team. But again, Spurs, like, they should have just ran away with that game. It should have been 4-0 at half. But Mila, I know you want to start talking about another game, so go for it.
You want me to
Yeah, go for it. What did you think of our game?
I see what Maresca wants to do, but when watching the game, I think it was a lot of possession without a purpose, and they were just pinging the ball around in the back. You guys looked more dangerous to me when you decided, all right, fuck the pinging around, we're gonna boot it, and then you would beat one defender, and then you have a chance for Nico Jackson to mess up. So that's what I thought overall for you guys. I think the bigger problem is Enzo. Not necessarily, it might not be him as a player, but just how he's being used. But that game was not good. His first touch let him down all over the pitch, not just in the final third, in my opinion. And then he doesn't do anything with the captain's armband on that justifies it for me. Like, he doesn't feel like a leader to me. Is that his fault? I don't know, because Chelsea doesn't really have much of a leadership core. Like, your leadership room is lacking a little bit, and that's because there's not a lot of experience in the team. It's a lot of young guys. So this is the pick of the young guys, and then I just need to see if he's going to live up to that or if they need to give it to someone else.
Yeah, I mean, he's a vice captain, but it's the same sad story with
Where's
Reese.
the captain?
Yeah, he's suspended. He's going to play Thursday, Conference League.
I know, but when they give him that,
Yes.
they know what they're doing.
Yeah,
He's
I mean, last year it was Chilwell as our vice captain and Gallagher was our captain majority of the season. So for me, like, you can throw it on Guiu and I'll be okay. But I get what you're saying with Enzo. We'll obviously get to it when we're going to talk about Chelsea's best 11. But the thing with Enzo, obviously, it's going to be a huge discussion. It always is with him. I mean, we bought him for a comical amount of money. The whole saga was ridiculous. Obviously, he had an off season of some controversy, and then all of a sudden, he's our captain. So there's always talking points with Enzo. And for me, I know what I saw under Potter. That was a horrific team, and he looked amazing every game. Last year, up and down, played injured for months, and then sat out the rest of the year. This year, that first like 10 minutes for me, I'm watching it. He's receiving the ball, turning, and playing a forward pass. That sounds very straightforward for someone who's playing in a 10. I saw Conor Gallagher play the ball to Disasi like 300 times last year. So that alone for me, given the standard was low for that position and how it was being played, I wasn't frustrated with it. But like you said, 6 or 7 times, he's right at the edge of the box, heavy touch. And he doesn't do that on his side of the pitch, but when he's in that final third, that's just not the player he is. Potts tried it last year. It's not who he is. He belongs in the pivot. That's where I think he does best. Maresca, like you said, he wants a double pivot, whether it's a fullback inverting, whether it's 2 sixes. He wants a double pivot. I think Enzo belongs in there, but again, we'll get to that a little bit later. It's going to be tough to fit him in when you see Lavia. I mean, his first game, unreal. I thought he was great. I think he came off for fitness reasons. Played 20 minutes last year, but he was our best midfielder in that game to me. I thought Caicedo was all right, but again, I think he was our best midfielder last year, so I'm not too worried about Caicedo. And yeah, wasteful as always in front of goal. So upwards to the next ones. From there, Dylan, did you have any thoughts on that game? I want to hear what you had to say, actually, before we get into the next topic.
I guess as a neutral. Yeah, I guess I'll speak on City because obviously you guys touched on Chelsea. I thought City looked really good for a team that like again didn't have most of their starting guys and like Foden came off the bench. Like they just cruised to a 2-0 win and again going on the road in a first game against Chelsea side that's super talented is not an easy thing to do. And Pep I thought managed it well. Um, I thought that Savinho was really, really, really good in the minutes that he played before he got that injury and came off at half. Looked bright. And then outside of that, Doku, dangerous as always. Holland is probably going to score 50 goals this season. That's just that run and the build to the play. Like, there's not many other strikers in the world at his size that can do exactly what he just did. And so for that, Chelsea did great. I thought that Chelsea didn't look bad. I thought that it was a mix of missed opportunities and also a lack of just experience in playing with chemistry. Like Mila was saying, possession for possession's sake is never going to win you a game, especially when you're playing City, because you're not going to hold it. So interesting tactics. Obviously, as a Pep disciple, manager's going to go with what he thinks is best. But I thought that, like Mila was saying, it should have been a more direct game plan. That's how United beat him in the FA Cup. That's usually what their weak points are, is getting those, like getting a Gvardiol into a position where you're trying to beat him over top, and you use the pace around your players to win games. And I thought that strategically it was more of a game trying to set up the rest of the season rather than just a one-off, let's win this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then one more thing, no one mentioned his name yet. Kovacic was unreal. He
Oh,
was.
yeah.
You want me to say a blurb?
I'll give
I
you the floor.
got this.
He was
Let
great.
me talk.
Yeah, go for it.
For City, the first thing we need to start off was we won a game without Rodri, and that's
True.
all that really matters to me. He got his rest. He might be hurt right now, but he got to rest, and mentally he knows that it was okay that he could rest. And then the big standout for me, honestly, was Rico. I
Good point.
wanted him to start over Walker. I think I was kind of trying to manifest that a bit more than actually believing it. But after that first game and the past couple games he's played United, he's played Chelsea. Like, these are good wingers that he's going up against. Played well. And the defensive stuff was the questionable stuff for him. And he looks like a dog. Like Dylan said, Savinho looked good. He looks like a mini Mahrez, Brazilian Mahrez regen. Doku looked really good, just nothing, like everything but the
No,
final ball, basically. Kova's, like you were about to say, immense, and I think his progression was probably why we didn't want to go out and spend big money on a 6-8 hybrid like everyone wanted. But now we all know that we're gonna get Gundo too. But I think having both of them is the best of both worlds type of thing. And yeah, that's really all I had.
no.
City.
Well, speaking of manifestation, let's get this best Chelsea 11 going. And I just want this to be on the record. My career mode from like 2 years ago, I had the setup we're running now. So my word is the gospel. But we're just going to go over each position. We're setting it up in possession. As we know, Maresca likes to set up a 3-2-4-1 typically in possession. Again, whether that's the fullback inverting or having two pivots and the fullback holding up with. We're doing a 3-2-4-1. So goalie, what do you guys got? Anything crazy to start?
I just have the guy that's in it,
Yeah,
who's
Sanchez.
currently there, because I don't
I don't
know
have
who's
Sanchez.
supposed to start.
Yeah, I just can't put Sanchez in good faith. I don't want to go too much in this because it is what it is. Like, we don't have like a big name there that's going to be good, but Sanchez, he's meant to be the ball playing keeper, but like I've seen it time and time again with him, he just makes frustratingly dumb decisions like at least once a game now. I mean, Arsenal at home last year, he gave Declan Rice a goal. We should have beat them at home, and he put them right back in the game. Just got the assist. So Sanchez, he has games where he's a great shot stopper, but he has other games where he's not. I think he was pretty decent against City shot stopping wise, but the Kovacic shot, brilliant shot, could have been saved. Like, Sanchez gives me heart attacks. So I'm going with Jorgensen. I think he'll win the spot by the end of the year. Yeah, we signed him from Villarreal. Um, yeah, there we go. But ball playing
No
keeper,
clue.
Villarreal, 21 years old. Yeah, I think he takes the spot off Sanchez by the end of the season. So no need to discuss too much, but that's why I have at keeper. But again, for sake of argument, it doesn't really matter. So let's just throw Sanchez in there. Majority wins. But yeah, on to the next position, left back. I have Cucurella. Anybody else have anything different there?
In the setup, I have Cowell.
Colwell. Okay.
If we're doing the
I mean,
the
that's fair.
3-2-4-1 as the left-sided center back.
Cucurella's done that. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah.
I have
okay,
Cucurella there. He's played that position for us in the past. He's done well. I have Cucurella there, but yeah, Cole is another option. That's what I like about this setup. You can do that in theory and
I
be
think you
fine.
could
I just
probably
don't
put Toast in there too.
as a left back. I don't know. I
The
prefer
left center
Cucurella.
back or the left back? I'm
It's
honestly.
left back, but it's a back three in possession. So like they're not really progressing per se. I like Cucurella there. One of our other new signings, Vega, the Maresca likes him there. That's why we're selling Chilwell. But I got Cucurella there. But again, Colwell's played there in preseason, so I see that too. Milo, did you have any thoughts here?
No, it does make sense to me.
Oh. What do you think, Don?
Yeah, I think that he's the best of both worlds. I think in possession, obviously, I personally I just don't think Cucurella is at the level of the Premier League standard where he's going to be good. I know he had a good Euros, but I'm not going to let that distract me from what I've seen in the past from him. And I just know over, the Premier League season, I just don't think that he's going to keep his spot. The Holland goal was partially his fault, and I just feel like there's going to be more mistakes like that happen. I feel like Colwell's just the safer, younger option. You guys have tried to get rid of Cucurella too, so he just feels like that's the progression of the club is to go that way.
Sure. Yeah, I got you. I think counter argument. I don't want to go too much into his left back. I'm sure we've got more pertinent discussions, but he was playing a lot of like overlapping left back or wing back and attacking under Pochettino. That's not what he's good at. He's secure in possession. He's tidy. City wanted him because he could play in midfield. He can invert. And then Poch finally figured that out because everyone else was hurt. And he looked good. And then when he plays in that left center back role, he looks good. He's not an overlapping attacking fullback, but I've liked what I've seen in these positions from him. And that's why I have him there. But again, he wasn't great defensively either, and I was going to mention I'd prefer to have him out wide, one-on-one with wingers, but he wasn't great against City. But yeah. So what are we going to do, boys? We've got a conundrum.
That's fair. Let's just go central center back. Mila, who do you have there?
Yeah, we'll get back to it.
Now I'll put in Tosin, just because I like him. He's a good ball playing center back. He's tall, and you guys clearly bought him for a reason, so he should play.
Yeah, I'll have Colwell there. That's where he played last game. I like his distribution there. When he's been out wide, and again at Brighton, he was great there. Over the top, passes into the midfielder, and they can turn with the ball. Like I liked him there, but at the center, I like it a little more. Don't really know why, to be honest. I just feel more comfortable with him in the center. I don't love him out wide, running at wingers. Like, I don't know, Mo Salah's running at you one-on-one, or Savinho, who looked really dangerous. I don't feel like he's as good there defensively. So I prefer to have him in the center there. But Dylan, I know you have my left back.
I had Fofana there. I thought that he was actually one of the bright spots this weekend. But honestly, the reason that I have these guys all shifted towards the left one is because of my right center back. So that's why I have Fofana there. It's honestly just because I didn't know where else to put him. But yeah, so I don't have like a whole lot to say on him.
Gotcha. Okay, and then so I guess the center back pairing, if you will. So I have Fofana there. I just went with our back three that we set up with against City. Fofana played central center back for like a half in preseason, coming off of a torn ACL, so you can't put too much stock into it. But he did not look very comfortable there for me. I think once he gets back to full fitness, his pace and his ball playing ability, he can kind of push it up a little bit and progress with the ball if he needs to.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer him out wide for those reasons. So that's why I have it there. So my back three is like Cucurella, Colwell, Fofana. And then my right back, I have Reece James, but again, it's not fit. So Gusto, we can have them interchangeable. So that's my
That's
back four.
yeah. My right back in this, or the right center back, is Reece James. I don't think he's fit enough to
Okay.
play a full season anymore at right back, getting up and down the wings. I do actually have Gusto somewhere else in the squad. I just don't have him at right
Okay.
back. In my
I
mind, I
got you.
think you can play both of those two. One is like the right back, and then the left back asterisk, where he's actually playing somewhere else on the field in possession. Um, Reece James' hamstring is going to give out if he continues to burst up and down the field. I'd much rather him just be playing balls and spraying balls around the pitch, and making things happen from a deeper position.
Sense. I think if under the assumption that he stays fit doing that, that works. But the thing is, if you do run that and both of them get hurt, or one of them gets hurt, your depth there is not great.
Yeah.
Just right off the bat, because they're another level compared to most of your defense.
Hmm. Yeah,
So to
I mean,
lose, like worst case scenario in that situation, you lose both of them, then Chelsea's screwed. Like, I
uh,
don't know if they can even afford to even think about doing that.
yeah, it's a tough one. It really sucks because like when I watch him play, like when he's fit, which obviously it's been a while now, like there's no doubt in my mind, like this guy's unbelievable. He can play anywhere. Like he's played in that third center back role, and like you guys said, can play a ball over the top. He's pretty press resistant. An amazing crosser, even can score goals. Like he can do everything. It's just his hamstring lets him down every time. It's genuinely hard to watch for me, but Gusto's unreal, especially for his age. I think he had one of his worst games in the Chelsea shirt against City. Wasn't great defensively at all. Doku had his way with him as soon as he switched over. It wasn't a good showing for him. He did well last year at the Etihad. I remember he did well, but again, that's the game. Doku can play. That's not You're not going to lock that guy up every single time. He's usually going to get the better of you. But yeah, with Reece, I just have to throw him there. He's our captain. He's unbelievable for me. But at a certain point, you just know Gusto's going to be getting minutes there. So that's where I have him. And where I have him in possession, I have him holding width on the right side, pushing forward, like Milo was saying, or I'm sorry, Dylan was saying, bombing up and down. So we'll see. But yeah, I have him bombing up and down. I just feel like with our personnel, and we're about to get into the midfield. Um, I just think it makes more sense to play a pivot with two midfielders and not invert a fullback. But yeah, I got Reece James bombing up and down the flank. Anything else on the back four? What are we thinking? I feel like at the end of the day, Reece James and Gusto are interchangeable just because of injuries. Our center backs, I wouldn't say we have one in particular that has to be in there. I think a lot of guys need to earn their spot this year. We spent a ton of money on Fafana, great prospect. He missed all of last year. Colwell, great loan at Brighton, highly regarded. I don't think he had a great year for his standard last year. Towson coming into a new team. Disasi, we're hearing rumors about him right now. Batty Machino looked great under Potter and then had a pretty rough year for him last year. So we'll see. I'm pretty open to every argument with our back four. I think, like I said, a lot of people need to prove themselves. But you guys want to get into midfield in that pivot?
Sounds good.
Sweet. I have Lavia and Caicedo there right now. Um, I know we just talked about Enzo. I think Enzo's best position is there, but just based off what I've seen right now, Lavia has been our best midfielder in preseason. He looks unbelievable. Caicedo was our best midfielder last year. So on merit right now, it has to be them two for me. But again, I think Enzo's an amazing player, and with the amount of games in the mighty Conference League and the Cup competitions, I think Enzo's going to get more than enough game time. But for me, this is the best pivot as of right now. Um, but yeah, Enzo can absolutely get some game time without a doubt. He's going to play. But what do you guys think on the pivot?
Lavia's been playing well. And then you guys have so much attacking talent that like taking Enzo out the team really isn't that big of a deal. If you were to say like push him up the field. But to do that, you're taking out someone that should be in the attacking four. So I think he might have to be the sacrifice. It's going to be him or Caicedo, and either way, one of the big money signings is not going to be starting.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that with the youth of the center back pairing, that we all said all of them are younger than what, 25. Um, there's going to need for a defensive cover or shield, so to speak, and I think that The pivot of Caicedo and Lavia is really the way to do that, especially if you're going to have Reese or Gusto bombing forward. You need, I think, just a little more defensive coverage, and those two provide that. Thought Enzo this weekend was poor, and I don't have him in my 11. I just don't know what his best position is in this squad. It kind of feels like a uh, circle hole square peg thing with me, and it feels like he's just not really able to fit in one natural position to where he can be elevated to his talent level.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I think his best position's in the pivot from what I've watched with him in a Chelsea shirt, him in an Argentinian shirt. But when we're talking about it, like you said, our defense was awful last year. Even when we finished 12th, we had a pretty good defense. And then we conceded the most goals we ever have in like 30 years. So that defense was shaky. And when you have players who more naturally their instinct is to defend with Lavia and Caicedo, I think that additional cover will absolutely add. And Enzo, we've seen it, doesn't have the most legs. I think him and Caicedo works in theory if you have him playing like a Cruz-ish role, like how Cruz was playing towards the end of his career, just dropping deep, pinging passes, finding stuff. But that style doesn't really suit this league, does it? You know what I mean? I think he'd be real good in Spain, but it's an issue. It's 100% an issue that my bald savior needs to sort. But I have Lavia and Caicedo there in the pivot. Glad we all agree on something. That's a first. So um, this front three, right? Because if you said you had Gusto, you have him playing at right back defensively, but do you have him bombing up and down?
I have him. So in my team, I had him as like the left wing of sorts.
Oh,
I have him bombing up. I have him bombing up and down on the left side.
Okay.
Just because I have him and Reese in the same squad, so that's why I have him there.
You. Okay, so he's playing left back.
Yeah. But I mean, outside of those three, I think that you go with your three next most talented options in there, and I got Palmer and Felix. I think those are the two silkiest, smoothest ballers that you got in towards the middle that can also kind of push out wide if needed. Obviously, they both like to invert, and obviously that's kind of what they'll be doing. And then I have Pedro Neto holding the width on the right. At Wolves, he's done it. I think he can do it on the right here and it can be kind of interchangeable. All three of those guys, where someone's pushing out to the right wing, making things happen on the right. I just think that those are the three most talented attackers in this setup to make a more possession style work, while also being direct enough to not get totally cinder blocked in by other teams' defenses.
Okay. Do we want to talk about striker too, or do we want to save that separately? I don't mind if we just bring it up.
I think all the top four they depend on each other.
Okay, yeah.
Especially for your guys' team, I think my decisions are based off what the four will look like rather than who's playing where.
Sure.
That's fair. Okay, with that then.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
With that then Nkunku is my striker, and I just think that you play it like how the manager played it when he was with Pep at City, and it's like the Jesus type role where they're all interchangeable, they're all making runs, you're passing around, and you're just playing with possession because that's what he wants to do. And I don't think Nico is clinical enough to be the 9 where it's the Holland, for example, in this system, where he's going to bag you goals every game and he's going to make his presence felt. I think that Nkunku, mixed in with Felix as striker, mixed in with Palmer as striker, mixed in with Neto, all interchanging is going to be the best way about it.
Okay. No. Mila, I'll go with you next then. I guess what's your front four?
We got Neto on the left. I want Nkunku as shadow striker, basically.
Yeah, I got you.
I want him to be running off that main striker and being able to also contribute to the goals. And then Palmer will obviously be on the right. It's just hard to say who you put at the striker. I think Nico can do it, but to me, he loses his head a lot during the games. I don't think he's necessarily bad technically, but it looks like there's just stupid flicks here and there to nobody. Like he's not checking his shoulder or he's just not paying attention. Just one of those things. If he can fix that, I think he can easily play this role, and then him and Nkunku can thrive together. Not just one or the other. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So, Dylan, I like that you had Gusto on the left. Actually, I mean, he did that preseason. I saw him play left back last year. I think he's more effective as a right back in terms of his crossing versus cutting inside and playing that cross, but he's still done it. He's done well. I think he is our second most talented fullback, so I like that shout. I have Reese holding the width on the right, so right winger, but again, he's whipping in crosses. He's getting involved, and that's why I have Palmer playing as my right winger because that's been another talking point that he shouldn't be on the wing. He should be a 10. Maresca moved him to right wing. Like that was the guy who made that move. So when you have Reese overlapping and holding width, Palmer gets to play in that right half space that he saw so much success in. So no problem there for me having him there. And then I have Nkunku sharing that. He's in the left half space. And then I have Felix at left wing. He did play as a winger at Barca for the most part. I know it's not naturally his thing. And again, Nkunku as well, naturally a guy in those half spaces. But I don't love the full, just like Real Madrid, three left wingers. But Felix and Nkunku there, I feel like they'll be able to interchange because I saw Nkunku wasn't great on the wing against City, not a touchline winger. That's not his game. But if you have them interchanging, like Nkunku did it against Brighton towards the end of the season last year, he looked good as a left winger. So I think having Felix as the left winger and then Nkunku as the 10, they can interchange and it should be fine. I think Neto, and again, all these guys, Neto, Madueke, Mudryk, I think they get tons of minutes. We got the Conference League on Thursday. I'm sure Mudryk and Madueke start. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to get these guys minutes, but I'm just saying our best possible 11, which we'll play probably once. I have that. And then I have Jackson up top. I know I talked a little bit about Jackson last episode. It's such a tough thing with him because I see what I see with him every week. Like, I see the technical ability is there, but like Mila said, there's a flick. It's like, oh, why'd you do that? There was no need. But against City with the Etihad last year, he had a really nice first time flick and it led to a goal that he assisted. So it works. Like he's trying, but like he just needs to be locked in. Like I don't really know how to articulate it. He's just
Right.
he's a frustrating player.
He's
But
a dreamer, but he needs to come back on the
and
He needs
again,
to come back to earth.
we bought him. We bought him for 35 million. He gave us 14 goals in his first season in the league. Like, I think he had a very successful first season. But again, like, I cannot remember the FA Cup semifinal against City. I was texting you guys before the game. I was like, Jackson Hive will be revealed to all of the world. Everyone's going to know how good he is. And he just had such a bad game. So
Respect Nicholas Jackson.
I love
Yeah,
Nicholas
respect.
Jackson. And I think he's a very good player. I think he's our starting striker. But yeah, he's going to have to improve. He's obviously going to have to improve. He's a young player, so let's see it. It's a big season for him. I think it's a big season for this team. I mean,
Let,
Clear Lake has clearly.
let me bring up a
Oh, sorry, go
counterpoint.
ahead before we.
Let me
Yeah.
bring up a
Sure.
counterpoint real quick to the Nicholas Jackson
Yeah.
thing, and I'm just gonna relate it to United
Yes,
because that's
go
the
for
team
it.
that I watch the most. With the
Yes.
sub like Xerxes coming on late in a game when you needed a goal as a striker, could you say I in my mind that's what Nicholas Jackson should be filling this year? It's like maybe you're playing a false nine for 70 minutes, and if you're still chasing a goal, that's when you bring on your striker to get you that. But I feel like for the consistency aspect, through 70 minutes, there's too many of the flicks and tricks and stuff. But when you need someone to come in and make something happen quickly, youthful, presses well, I could see him kind of being that super sub, at least for this season, and maybe next year he picks it back up.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's 100% a valid point. Like, again, I think I've shared my opinion on this. I do not want Osimhen for 350K a week. Like, I do not want to pay 100 million and break our wage structure for that player. You know what I mean?
The wage structure.
No, there's a reason.
The wage structure is
No.
pissing me off, bro.
No,
Y'all
no,
have
no.
no experience in the team. Not a single winner on
Yes.
the team. You want to get rid of all the winners because nobody can afford to be there. Like you can't pay a winner to be there, right?
What winner
You
should
don't
we
want to
go
pay a
with?
winner. Like
Should
you
we go?
don't want to. You don't want to pay over 150K.
Should we get a winner like Lukaku? A winner like Morata when we pay all this big money for horrific strikers? Like, I'm done with that.
That's bad business, though. I understand
What
the
did you
frustration.
What did
but,
you think
like,
of
what-
Lukaku at the time when we bought him?
That
Was
was
it a good?
bad in my eyes.
Because in my head it was like, oh, we have a
Like,
striker.
I didn't
That's
get
all we
it.
needed.
Yeah, but I understand that. Osimhen gives you something else that some of the other strikers that you have in the club right now don't.
How many goals
He's
did he score in the
a
league last
dominant
year?
beast. Dude, they were terrible last year.
Yeah, they were fucking terrible.
and they were ridiculous the year before that. So
Yeah,
like him,
yeah.
like
We were,
Caparadonna
do you
had the
think
same issue.
they were pretty bad? I don't think we were great last year either, to be fair. And I think Osimhen's an older, I mean, winner. He's won the league with Napoli. That's a huge achievement, 100%. Um, I don't know, man. I just don't think like Dylan kind of mentioned earlier. If we want like a nine who's just score goals, don't get involved, don't worry about the build up. Felix and Kunku Palmer, that's them. Okay, I get it. And honestly, I think we might end up getting him with like 2 days left. Where else is he gonna go? Like he's not gonna
Osimhen?
just right. He's not gonna not
Just
play all
Saudi.
year. So like
Yeah.
we might end up right. Like I
No,
don't know.
he's too
That,
good.
that's the only option. I
He
don't
could
think he
be
goes
eating
Saudi. Though.
freaking goals for breakfast
I
in
don't
the
know,
Premier
but
League.
yeah,
Like,
What
I don't know.
about
I don't
Tony?
know why he
I
wouldn't
don't
come.
think I can. Tony, I would also be a fan of Tony. I can't lie. I'd prefer Tony to Osimhen.
There's got to be something there.
I wouldn't want.
Like,
I
he's
paid
going
what,
for
40,
too cheap.
40 million for Tony. 50 million for Tony.
That's all they want.
Yeah.
They might ask for a little more just because if
Sure.
it's an interleague thing,
Yeah.
his nationality. But
And he's
Yeah.
English.
40
Yeah.
million for him, like,
Uh-huh.
why is nobody getting?
I'd much rather do Tony than Osimhen if you bring that up. And then again,
Proven
have
Prem
Jackson
striker.
the
Decker
reason
guys.
Yeah.
behind that.
Yeah, but at the same time,
It's just another big fish from a smaller pond, though. I think.
Who takes
so
the
you think
penalties if he
Osimhen
comes
over
in?
Tony? Come on, son.
They take
Just
it
one
together.
answer to that question.
They each.
That's a
take it
good.
at the
That's
same
a good answer. It's the
There's one
Messi
answer
to Suarez penalty every single
Yeah,
time.
they just lay it off. I was gonna say that. Damn it. Yeah, I mean it's a good discussion to have, and we're gonna see what they do in 2 weeks. I don't put anything past them in terms of transfer business. I would like if we're gonna go for a striker. I totally get it. Our backup striker is Guiu, who I enjoyed watching in the preseason, but he's 18 years old. He doesn't need that type of pressure. Like he needs time to develop. Not hey, please score us a goal. We have 10 minutes. That's not fair to the player. So yeah, I'm not mad at bringing in a striker. Even though I would genuinely be content with like this Jackson, Guiu, and Kunku can play up top. But Tony, I don't want if Osimhen comes and we have to pay him 350K a week for what 8 years? No, don't do that. Do not do that. That's the reason you can't get rid of certain players. I do not want to have that guy locked up on those wages. I think that's a horrific idea. But
You guys need some like win now.
no,
Win
for
now
sure.
players.
For sure.
Everything is trust the process, believe in
Yeah.
the process. The process is going to take fucking forever at this point. Like you're never going to win anything because there's no win now players or that
Valid point.
mentality in the club.
And I guess my last really thought and more just an overall idea on where Chelsea are, because it's a huge talking point. People are talking about our 45-man squad. Oh, where are people changing? Man, we're practicing with like 24 players. Like I don't want to hear all that. But my point being, Clear Lake came in and immediately cleared out the whole team. Like we saw it, right? They went from Champions League winner to tailed off but finished third to 12th, 6th, and we scumbag 6th. We were awful. We deserve to be like 10th. So this is a huge year for them. They got, what, 2 managers wrong in a row? Potter didn't work. Poch, I can't believe I just said his name again. It's a huge year for them.
Recent success. I feel like that makes the pressure a lot more. Not even just like
I'm just saying for
outside
where
fans,
we're
your
at,
fans as well.
for the project, the all-encompassing, I feel like we cleared out most of the guys that we didn't want. We finally got the manager that we want, right? Because Clear Lake's their ID for a coach hasn't been good yet, right? But they got the guy they want. They have the philosophy they want. They're starting to get rid of players like Sterling getting kicked out of the squad. Like, that's crazy. He's our highest earner.
Might be, yeah, he's gonna still be your highest earner.
Right,
If you don't
right.
tread
It's a
carefully.
huge deal.
You guys are disrespecting him.
It's a huge
And he's
deal.
got 3 more years left on that contract. He's
Yeah,
gonna run that.
I can't believe that happened. I was saying right before he got dropped, I was just like, I'm going to expect him to be here until his wages run out. No one's going to give him those wages anywhere else. I just assumed he'd be here for 3 more years. I have
He
no
probably
idea
will
what's
at
going to
this
happen.
point.
Yeah,
It's going to be a Phil
I
Jones
don't see
situation.
He would leave. He can collect a
right.
fatty
It's interesting.
paycheck. He doesn't have to pay a
Yeah.
single minute.
He doesn't have to do anything. Having said that, I think it's a deserved thing. I don't think he was good enough. All of last year, he started off well. But I'm fully in support of our manager, and my point being, this is the year. The stadium, like them booing less than like before the first half ended against the best team in the world. What are we doing? Like, I think our fans, like our match-going fans, they need to wake up. They're talking. I heard someone say they wanted to fire Maresca and bring in Mourinho.
One game.
Yes. Those are the people that go to games. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, how could you watch this sport and come to that conclusion? So I think our match-going fans is honestly a big problem. I think a lot of our players have bought in. I think the managers bought in. The manager's clearly committed. Like you saw, Arteta cleared out a bunch of dudes right when he got there. Pep got rid of a lot of dudes right when he got there because this is their team. They want to put their footprint on this team. So this is a huge prove-it year. They're not going to run away with the league in their first year, obviously, but you need to really see some jumps. Like, this is a very huge year. So I'm excited to see it. I'm not going to overreact after losing to the best team in the world, but we'll see what happens.
All right, for video's sake, our combined 11, I'm going to start rattling off what I can remember, and we just say yes or no.
Sure.
All right, so our left-sided center back is Cucurella. Our central center back is Cowell. Our right-sided center back is Wesley Fofana.
Yes.
Our right winger is Reece James, just for the sake of defensive. In this structure,
or
he's
Gusto,
he's our guy
right
keeping
back.
our wing.
He's our right back.
Our pivot
Yes.
is
Gusto.
Caicedo and Lavia. Our right winger is Cole Palmer. Our left winger is João Felix.
Or Neto.
And our
Yeah.
or Neto. Okay. And then our striker is Nicholas Jackson.
Yeah. And then who do you have at the 10? Is that Nkunku?
So then it's, and Nkunku as your shadow striker.
Cool. Sweet. Yeah, I mean, that's what I have. But again, like Mila just mentioned with Neto Felix, none of these players are like far and away like, oh, they're locked in, bar like Palmer, right? So like Felix, Neto, like that can be very interchangeable. And a lot of these guys have to prove to this new manager, to me. So
Neto's pretty cemented. It's just, can he stay fit?
fitness. Yeah, sure. No.
Whereas like Felix hasn't had it, but he's been pretty underwhelming the past 3 years.
I thought he actually had a decent season at Barca up until they kind of realized they weren't keeping him, and Yamal on the scene. Yamal had to be in that team. But again, 100% relative to the price tag he had and the expectations of him. Yeah, he hasn't lived up to that. We got him for $44.5 million. So yeah, but subject to change, boys.
Cool. I guess.
Move on.
Yeah. Let's move on to our center back tier list. Mila, number 10.
Oh, number 10.
Yeah.
Number 10.
Caught me off
Let's
guard.
start
I
with
wasn't
10.
ready for this.
Yeah.
I got Ethan Pinnock from
Pinnock?
Brentford.
Ethan Pinnock.
Yeah.
Shout. That's crazy.
I have a little bit of a soft spot for him. I think he's good though, and I think if he went to another team with a bit of more infrastructure, he could be really good.
That's a real decent shout. I like that.
I have Gabrielle at 10.
Oh.
That's low.
Yeah.
That's really low.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he's actually pretty good, to be fair. He just has the bozo gene of all bozo gene for me, and I rate Saliba higher than him, I think. And obviously, there's been games where Saliba hasn't been good and Gabrielle's covered for him. But if I had to pick one of them, it's Saliba for me. I don't think twice about that.
You have 9 other center backs over Gabrielle?
Yeah.
That's such a crazy statement.
Okay.
I love it. I love it. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a 10.
I've got a Kanji. I thought he was really good in the Euros. I thought he was
nice.
Yeah, I thought he's been consistent as a kind of rock. Just get the ball to somebody else. And I think Pep really likes him. And if Pep likes him, I like him. He also's got just a cool aura and vibe to him.
He just shuts down sometimes. He turns off his brain.
Yeah, Gabriel too.
Decides to give the entire fan base heart attacks.
He gave me
Other
a
than that, it's great.
Oh my God.
That's fair.
That's why he's off my list. Yeah.
Grant, what'd you have for 9?
I had Konsa. I like Konsa. I thought about not putting him there because he's played a bit of right back. He played a bit of right back, but like he's their best center back for me. I like Pau Torres, but I think if we're talking in the mix of being able to play on the ball, I know it's a big thing in the modern game, especially with Emery, and then actual like defending, being a center back. I think he's real good, and I mean, we're in top four for a reason. I think Konsa's a big part.
Yeah, my 9 is Kanate. Oh, you go first. You go first. I like that shout.
Wait, I didn't hear him. What did he say?
I have
No,
Pau Torres.
I like that shout.
Yeah. I think he was one of the mainstays in their team last year. I thought him and Carlos.
Carlos, yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
Him and
okay.
Carlos were supposed to be really exciting, and that was a while, 2 years ago, a year ago. He got hurt pretty early, but Pau's been there. He's been working, and he's been developing with this team. So when they're improving, he's improving, and I think he's probably like that's why I have him at 9.
A good player. Good player.
He is a good player. That's a really good shout. And Villa's
Would you
defense
say you
wouldn't
had
be.
Konate?
Yeah, I think that I think next to Virgil, they needed somebody to be athletic and strong, and his biggest issue is he can't stay healthy for whatever reason. But I think he's been very, very good, and I thought he was good this weekend. So I don't really have much more to say. I just think he's a class player, and he's kind of one of those Rolls Royce, kind of just gets the job done. So yeah, I have him at 9. Guess should I just jump into 8?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
I've got Mark Gahey at 8. He's my only outside the top 6 guy that I have in here. Thought really good at the Euros. A little undersized, but I think that if he was to make a move to a top 6 team, his talent would really show. Really good on the ball. But even with this short stature, he's still very strong and pushes off players really well. So that's why I have him at 9. Or sorry, 8.
8.
Can't speak.
I got Martinez at 8.
Okay.
I think he's a warrior, something I really like in just defenders in general. I do think his height bothers me. I don't even think it's necessarily a problem. It's just when I'm looking at a center back, I don't want someone that height.
Bothers me. It's insane.
But I think it's very good.
I have a different Argentinian. I have Romero at 8. I think he gets in his own way a bit sometimes, but he is a very good player. Like, let's get that very clearly. He can play. He just has those moments. I mean, obviously, I just always remember last year when we went to Tottenham. Like, why would you just try and break your countryman's leg in the box? What are we doing there? Yeah, no, Romero. So, like, he has those moments, but I think he has a lot of great leadership qualities. And I mean, he's one of the best defenders in the league. There's just so many good players. That's why I have Gabriel at 10. I mean, I like Consta and Gabriel. Like, obviously, that could be debated. Romero and Gabriel, it could be debated, but I got Romero at 8. 7th, I'll just go into it. I know Dylan just mentioned him, so Gahey. I have him at 7.
I also have Gahey there.
Yeah, I have Gahey at 7.
I think we all have similar reasoning for it.
Yeah.
It just depends like where we put him.
Gahey can play. Dylan already covered that one. What do you have at 7?
Dylan.
Oh, Dylan. I thought he said Mila. Fuck, my bad.
No.
That's where I have Gabriel. The second best player in the back 2 there for Arsenal. I thought he was rock all year. I think that they needed a little bit of that crazy Brazilian tax gene, and I think he's done that really well. For a player that was going to get pushed out last season to essentially be their player of the season, and probably he could have been arguably the best center back in the league last year. Just very impressive play for me. So I think 7's where I'm going to have him staying.
Fake hair tax as well, but
True, Turkey.
Number 6, I have Lisandro. He's annoying when you're playing against United. It's like, dude, like, relax. Like, oh, he's the butcher. He's just a slow guy running at everybody, screaming at everybody. He's a very good defender, and he is essential to how they play. I mean, we saw last year. Obviously, United were thrashed with injuries, but he was a guy that was out for a majority of the season, and the way they play is just completely different. Ten Hag loves having a left-footed center back. We saw him play Shaw there. But on the ball, his qualities are immense. I mean, he can carry the ball up the pitch. He can pass it forward. Like, he can do everything on the ball. And again, as a defender, very strong defender. Naturally, he's going to be limited in the air, but I think he's pretty much all-around package, bar being 5'9". It doesn't bother me. But, yeah, I have him at 6. What do you guys got?
It
So,
doesn't bother
do you
you
want to
being
go or do
short.
you want me to go?
You can go.
um, I have Vanderbilt at 6. I really like him. He's freaking fast, and you don't see that from white center backs a lot. At Tottenham, though, I don't see him improving too much. I feel like if he's gonna become or like fulfill the potential that I think he has, it's not going to be at Tottenham.
It's fair. All right, bear with me here. At number 6, I have a guy who has only played 10 minutes in the Premier League. I have Delict there. I think that as a center back, just prospect, 25 years old, has been the captain at Juventus, at Bayern Munich. I think there's a reason that United spent the money on him, and I think it's because he's going to be the main stake, either next to Euro or Martinez from here on out. I think that he's a solid. He is also deceivingly quick, good ball playing center back that essentially United needed. The guy to replace Varane in this system. And I think he's class. I've always thought it. So that's why I have him at 6.
You have him replacing Iran?
Like in the
Or
system.
I thought that was I thought that was yours, Joe. I feel like
Yeah,
he
I
was
thought
like
that
a
too.
last minute like Euro's not here, we're gonna go get him, but it was like, oh, we've already tried to go get this guy. He has a connection with our coach.
Personal terms agreed. Yeah.
Well, Euro is the young guy. I think that he's supposed to be the future, but I think that ultimately it's not his spot to win necessarily. Like I think that's just Delict. I think the plan was always to get Delict. It was just a matter of could they
You
get
think he
other
was
guys
always in
out.
the plan? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Ineos doesn't. It seems to be working in the way that they've wanted that cover, and eventually they're gonna fade out the Maguire Lindelof trio. They got rid of Kempwala really early in the window, and I think that was because they always had their eyes set on at least 2 center backs. So it's more of like a we'll see. I'm just hopefully optimistic.
No, that's valid. Hopefully, optimistic is always valid. That's what I've been doing the past 2 years. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll literally see. We're gonna see how good he is. Right? He's gonna play. Number 5, I have Saliba. You got
Dude,
Saliba at 5?
you
No.
you just said that
at 5.
you just said that you have Arsenal, who had the best defense in the league, have the 10th and the 5th best center back in the Prem.
No, I mean I understand where he's coming from.
I may
I
have been
can
a bit
understand
harsh
that.
on Gabriel, but no,
Maybe.
I'm sticking with my list. I got Saliba at 5. I think the players, well, one of them, I think he's just so good for his team, but I think the other 3 center backs, albeit marginally, are better than Saliba. That's why the lists, again, they're tough, right? I think
Fair.
on any given day, Saliba can be the best defender in the league, as can Gabriel. But, if I just have to narrow it down and say, what am I feeling? Saliba's at 5.
Fair enough. Milo, you want to go into why you
I
have Gabriel fifth?
Gabriel at 5. I have him 5th because I think when it comes to the big, not big name, but like bigger assignments, like a Holland type, I think I'd rather have a Gabriel there. Not to say that he should be the starter in those teams, or like the go-to center back one. I think he should still be the 2 to complement someone like Saliba, but he does have that energy and like dog in him, honestly, where he does make it a hard time for those bigger players. And that's why I have him at 5.
Fair. I have Stones 5th. When healthy, I think he arguably could be a top 3 center back in the league. That's kind of been the issue with him. I think that just his versatility and ability to play into the midfield makes him an asset that not a lot of teams have. And it's interesting because City's got like 15 center backs that you could probably argue in this list. And for me, I just think that he's a different level of class. And I think that molding under Pep has made him a top 5 center back.
Yeah. It's valid. I mean, I have him at 4th. Similar points. I know Mila has his gripes, but health is obviously a huge issue with him. But I mean, he's unbelievable as a player. Like, what other center back are you seeing doing that right now? Like, remember that final against Milan, against Inter Milan? That was absurd. Like, just watching that, bro, I was the biggest Inter fan, and I was just like, oh my god, bro, this guy's
It
like
was
you
amazing.
can't do anything about it. So that's why I have Stones at 4. And I did just want to touch real quick on it. The best defense in the league, 10th and 5th, the center backs. They play 2 DMs as well. They play 2 more center backs out wide. So yes, 10th and 5th, the center back pairing.
That's
Yeah. So 4th, I have Stones. Mila, where you got it for?
On the Stones thing,
Oh,
I think it's hard for me to put him in the top 10 when Dylan brought up Akanji earlier in his, and I don't even have Akanji in mind, but Akanji kept him out of the team at the end of the year. He was so good, so consistent, and that I didn't even want to think about putting Stones in there. And that's also hard to do when he's not really fit all the time. He's trying to get up to sharpness and compete with these guys who are playing full. But yeah, so that's why I don't have him in mind. At 4, I have Van Dyke. I think on paper he's probably number 1 if you want to think that, but I don't think he has all the physical properties that you would want in a center back. I don't think he's as consistent or as much of a leader when it comes to defending as the other 3 I have above him. So that's why I have him at 4. But I do think he's still probably, like you were saying earlier, he's probably going to be the best center back in the league on any given day. It just depends. It's a coin toss.
Gotcha. I'll just give my 4 and 3 shouts, just because they kind of build off what you were saying. 4 is Martinez for me. I think that if you look at United, and how they play with and without him, it's all I need to know, about how good I think he is. When he's not in the team, we suck. When he's in the team, we're not bad. You know what I mean? So it's more of an MVP type conversation for me. Obviously the height doesn't bother me because I think he's just world class, and I think that there's other managers that have said that they think that he's a top 5 center back in the world. You know, if Pep's saying that you're good, like I said earlier, that means that you're good in my book. And so that's why I have him at 4. At 3, I have Virgil van Dijk. For similar reasons to what Milo was saying, I don't think the crown at the top is his anymore. I think that he's taken a step back. Obviously, he's 31 now. I just don't think that he gets out.
32. I don't
32?
blame him. Yeah.
No, it's just like a natural progression. He just doesn't get out to wingers and strikers the way that he used to, where I genuinely, every time somebody got the ball near him, I was just assuming the ball was going the other way. And there's also instances where it just feels like he kind of forgets where he is, specifically in the box. I think that he just kind of assumes that Allison's got him covered, or he's just a step slow. So that's why I have him at 3. It's not like a marginal step back, but that's why he's number 3 for me.
oh. Well, number 3, I put Van de Ven. And the reason I have Van de Ven at 3 is because when I watch Tottenham, I love watching Tottenham because most of the time they're going to give me what I want to see. Um, but every time where it's like, oh, there's the chance, there's a counter, this guy is literally everywhere. I remember one point in the game against Leicester, he was essentially where the right back was. He was on that touchline, chasing someone down and winning the ball, getting it back to Vicario. It's like you don't notice that, but like he does that multiple times a game. And I know we have our thoughts on Ange and how open they are defensively. They would concede 20 more without him for me. I think like obviously pace, like oh he's the fastest player in the league, fastest clock sprint speed. That helps when you're playing in this system. We saw the high line they ran against us with 9 men. Like they're gonna run it pretty much all the time. So with him being able to cover like that, they cannot play the way they play without him in the lineup, or they're just gonna get torched. So that's the only reason I really have Van de Ven at 3.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's fair. I have Ake at 3. And I know he plays left
Wow.
back a lot of the time, but I think one-on-one defending, I really don't put him below many people in the league at all. And I think I think he can play anywhere. I think right back would be a little weird, obviously, but defensively, he has the ability to do the
That would
job
bother me.
anywhere. Yeah. Should I just go into my 2?
Yeah. Hit the 2 spot.
Okay, I have Saliba. I think, and it's mainly because Gabriel is also pretty high up that I don't want to give Saliba the one. And I have a bias that needs attending to. But I do think Saliba's really good. Like you guys were saying earlier, I don't think we need to go over why Saliba's a very good center back. But I have him at 2. Who do you guys have?
I put Van Dyke. I put Van Dyke at 2. I think we were very critical of him the year they finished 5th, and I think it was very valid. I think he had a huge drop off that year from what he was to that year. I think last year he was much better. He went straight back to being in this conversation at the top of who was the best center back in the league. And just based off of what we've seen in his track record, I'll give him number 2. I think it's fair. But like you said, Dylan, it's a natural progression. It's not like, oh, Van Dyke sucks. Van Dyke fell off.
Mm-hmm.
No, he was far and away the best center back in the world, and now he's older. He had a major knee injury. This happens. So that's why I have him at 2.
Yeah. Look, it sounds like we're just doing the Van Dyke is old meme,
Yeah.
which I'm okay with because he is old.
Yeah.
Yeah. My number 2 is Ruben Dish. Ruben Diaz for me at 2. Don't think City is anywhere near as good as they've been without the colossal that they have back there. When I think about winning players, Ruben Diaz is a winning player. The tackle needs to be made, the interception needs to be made, the block needs to be made. He's the guy that gets it done, and every time he's immediately coming up. He's got that warrior mentality that just shines through, and I don't think that Pep and City as a whole get away with the way that they play without that colossal unit back there. And he also just, I don't know, he kind of gives me some weird, like, and this is going to sound wrong, but it kind of gives me some weird company vibes where I just feel like every time he's back there, I just assume that it's going to be a clean sheet. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it does. Counterpoint to
For my number 1,
that.
Levi Colwell. No, I'm kidding. I got Ruben Diaz at number 1. I really wanted to put a Chelsea player in here, but we conceded like 180 goals last year. Can't do that. Can't do that in good faith. I put Ruben Diaz number 1. Like you said, he is just a proper defender. You know what I mean? Like, City have great ball playing players. By the way, left Ake off because I put him at left back. He's a great player. We know where he came from. I think Ruben Diaz is the leader of that defense. I mean, Chelsea. He is the leader of the defense. You have guys like Stones. You have these technical ball-playing center backs. Like, you do need a guy in there to defend. Like, just be the guy. And Diaz, I mean, he's just terrifying in there, bro. He's huge. He's imposing. You don't want to run at him. In the air, you do not want to jump with that dude. He's terrifying. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, I got him at 1.
But I probably wouldn't even have put him in my top 5 last year. I think he had his worst year in a City jersey, which makes me put him at 1 for this year. I think he, like we were talking, that mentality, he's going to look at himself in the mirror. That last year was not acceptable for his standards. He's defensive. He's defense personified. And, like, I don't think he's going to accept that. He's going to come back with a bang this year. He's going to want to freaking break heads, break skulls, goal line clearances, whatever. And he's going to celebrate all of them like they're a fucking goal. So, yeah, that's why he's my number 1.
Just one more quick question before we wrap up, boys. Does Thiago Silva get in this list if he's still at Chelsea at 40 years old?
No.
No? All right, cool. Just
I don't think so.
Me neither.
Only because he's Brazilian.
He's still keeping clean sheets in Fluminense. That man's unreal.
He is unreal.
All right, yeah.
All right. Let me give my number 1. Jerk.
No.
I know you don't want me to because you know who I'm about to say. Coming from the non-agenda side of this podcast when it comes to Arsenal, even though I don't like them, it's Saliba for me. I think he's been the pinnacle of consistency in the best defense in the league over the last 2 years. For that reason, that's why he's my number 1. I think that he's been really, really good just since the move back over to Arsenal. And, like, I don't really have anything else to say about him other than he just has the similar genes to Ruben Diaz, where it's like clutch tackle, need the interception. He makes it. And then also, he's provided them with, like, goal-scoring output sometimes, too, when they need it. And they're always piss missiles, too. Like, some fucking shot from, like, the edge of the 18 that he just puts top right. And I'm like, you're not supposed to do that. Like, just chill. Other than that, like, those are the reasons that I have him at 1.
Just made me think about Rudiger long shots again. Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
You will be missed.
Hala Madrid, right?
I don't want to talk about it, man.
What a bunch of losers, too.
He's the best center back in the world. There, I said it.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
I'll
Let
let
me
you
have
have
that.
it.
Not in my league. Doesn't
All right,
matter.
sweet. All right. That was good. That was fun.
Yeah.
I think
Really just didn't want Dylan to say he's number 1, but that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, I think we should just quickly wrap up with the little preview of some of the big games
Yeah.
for next week.
Yeah. Go for it, Mil.
Okay, cool. My biggest game next week for the league is Man City versus Ipswich. It's not. It's Arsenal versus Villa. um, yeah, I think it's gonna be a good test for both of them. Like we were talking about, Arsenal didn't really get to show much against Wolves. Not to say that they don't have a lot to show, but they didn't get to provide it. They didn't get to pull it onto the table. And then Villa did really good against the West Ham side. I want to see if they can take it up another notch against a title contender like Arsenal. And then I think we can really see what they're working with, even though it'll be the second game of the season.
Ipswich?
Ipswich.
Yeah. No, it's an important game. I touched on it in the beginning, like, one loss can be the end of your season. So to go into Villa Park and to pick up 3 points for Arsenal, I think is a really important result because they didn't do it last year and that cost them the league. So
Twice.
outside of that, I guess the next kind of thing for this match week 2 is how do teams like Chelsea and Spurs respond? Obviously disappointing results, but important for them to bounce back early in the season to get the gears rolling again.
Yeah. Got a fun Conference League sesh coming up Thursday before we play Wolves. That should be fun. I have no idea what to expect there. I might start at keeper. You know what I mean? We have no idea. But yeah, Wolves Sunday. We have a pretty light fixture list after the City game. Really foul, by the way, if they gave us City opening day, but whatever. We've got a light little run of fixtures. This is the time that they should really build some momentum and stack some points, which we didn't do all of last year. So yeah, big game. Spurs disappointing almost. I mean, drawing to Leicester. It just came back up. Losing to City is what it is, but obviously you have 0 points after 1 week. It's not great. So, yeah. And then, Dylan, I'm sure you could touch on a little bit, but United, too. I mean, what are we thinking?
Yeah, like I said, good 3 points at home. Now you have the test on the road, away from home with Brighton. Obviously, Brighton won 3-0 against Everton. They're no slouch team. So, United struggled against them in the past in this situation. Yeah, it is Everton. That's also fair. So I think it's good for United to keep the ball rolling, keep the momentum going, keep the spirits from the transfer window high. You're probably going to see a signing here this week, probably before this podcast comes out, that they get a 6, and it's really about just keeping the momentum before the early international break.
Wondering, like, do you think that Xerxes going to start, or
He
do you
should.
think he's going to come off the bench again with the Bruno?
He should start.
He should start. I could see them going with Bruno again because they should have been up 2-0 before Xerxes was even in. But I think that this is the reason they brought Xerxes in, was to fill this space. Nothing against Mount. I didn't think he had a bad game. I just think that Bruno's obviously that's his role, and Mount's the replacement Europa guy.
That's right.
Sure. Yeah.
That's absolutely right. 55 on a replacement, baby. Love that.
Hey, you got to do it when you want English players with the jersey sales.
Yeah,
That's such a shit signing.
Fair
But
enough.
yeah,
I think they're all the big games.
those are all the
That's
big
what
ones
I'm
we're going to
saying.
talk about.
Piqued my
Arsenal Villa's the
interest,
big
at
one.
least.
Arsenal Villa's the
Yeah.
big one. Chelsea
Yeah,
Servette
excited-
on Thursday, though. Tap in, boys.
Excited to watch that Villa game, and I know we'll talk about it next week. But for now, Thank you guys all for tuning in. This has been the Clash of Clubs podcast, episode 2.
2 words for him. Different gravy.
Glorious goal! Wreathed in red. We're really seeing the most extraordinary finish here. On this day of days, has he delivered? Just magnificent! Potentially life-changing! That's football. Minute you let it under your skin, then you begin to make it better.